All right, guys, welcome to part 2 of our conversation, mine and Tack's conversation with Brett, previewing the season to come. Now, I know the season has kind of already started, but this is part 2, where we basically preview the guys in the French League, in La Liga, in the Eredivisie, and in the Championship. So it's a great conversation. We talk about each player, what our expectations are of this season, what success looks like, what that benchmark looks like, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I do want to let you know before you start the video that this Sunday, the return of the USMNT Top 10 is there. So on Sunday, 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern, we'll go live to do our first top 10 of the season. The series is back, and it's just an exciting season, not only because I believe there will be real growth and progress, continued growth and progress, and building on a very exciting season from last year, but also it's the season of Pochettino. These guys need to impress a new coach. Pochettino is going to be watching. And so I think it's going to be exciting. Enjoy the conversation. Smash that like button if you have not already. Smash subscribe if you're new. Welcome. It's a great time to join the bandwagon of USMNT fanhood and enjoy the rest of the video. I'm not going to talk much about Busio. I don't think he's really in the mix for the national team. So let's move on to France. And of course, we start with another top 3 player for us, and that's Balogun.
Pretty easy for me. Back to the 15 to 20 goals. Back to that season. That's what he needs. Bounce back from 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
That's starter. Ben Yedder's gone. He left Monaco. To me, Balogun has to get the amount of goal contributions he got for runs, or maybe a little less. That's fine.
I'd put 20 as the benchmark. 20 goal contributions.
I would say 18 above. If he scores 18 goals, we would consider that a success.
I mean, we're saying goals or goal contributions?
Goal contributions, yeah. I would say 20 goal contributions. Yeah, 18 goals scored. Score goals. Try not to miss 200 penalty kicks. That would be good too if you take them. But yeah, I would say 20 goal contributions. He showed this summer what he's capable of. And even last season with Monaco, even though he sucked, he still got, 10 goal contributions in Liga? 15. Yeah, it has to go over 20. Easily over 20.
I agree. Easily 20. And he did show his quality. I mean, he's shown his quality before, but once again this summer. So those were bangers. So
they were.
20 makes sense. And Monaco's one of the better teams. I mean, what are they going to be in the top 5, 3, 4?
They finished in 7th, right?
No, second.
No.
Monaco was second.
It was like top 3.
They're in the Champions League, dude.
Oh yeah, what am I saying?
They're in the Champions League.
I thought of Betis. I got to mix up with Betis.
Yeah. So he's got a real shot at having an even more of a breakout year. I guess he's already had his breakout year, but that caliber of year.
And also perform in the Champions League. We're not telling him to score every game there, but play well against the good teams. He'll probably face a very good team outside of PSG. So,
but it's another player like Weah, who's got everything laid out in front of him perfectly to have a career year.
I'll just add to that. I would like to see improvements in his combination play, because he's good in transition. He's good 1v1, dribbling, all of that. Where I think he can improve as a player is with his back to goal and in combination, because Monaco is one of the better teams in France. And this is where he struggled last season, was when they're trying to dominate and break down teams. For Rennes, he played in transition. It was a transition game, and it really suited him. And at Monaco, one of the reasons he struggled is because you have to break teams down. Now you're operating in tight spaces. Your combination play in tight spaces needs to be better when you're playing for a top team, because you're facing bunkers all the time. And it's one of the reasons he struggled for the US too. So can he take strides forward in his combination play and playing with his back to goal? That would make him a more complete forward.
Mm-hmm. Balogun's another hard guy to get to know. Very quite reserved, but super nice, just reserved. I actually was at a club a week ago, and I ran this. There was a soccer player that recognized my brother and I. I guess my brother and him had hung out a couple weeks before in Cannes or something. So he invited us to his table. We hung out. I'm like, oh, what team do you play for? He's like, Monaco. I'm like, oh, you know Ballo? He's like, Ballo's my guy. Ballo's my best friend. So we took a picture and sent it to Ballo, and he was I think he was the right back. So that was kind of fun.
That's the Brazilian.
No, he wasn't Brazilian. So maybe left back.
Maybe left back then. The right back is the Brazilian. What's his name?
Let me.
Forgot his name.
I'll give you his name in 1 second. Really nice guy.
And Pete, in France, that's pretty much it, right?
I mean, there's Wiley and Sabi. Wiley, I'm fascinated to see how he's going to do in France, because
it's Monaco. I apologize. MANO some shit.
MANACO. No, sorry.
Monaco.
Monaco. Monaco. Yeah, Wiley's an interesting. Wiley, to me, if he can start half the games and look like he belongs, I think that's huge for Caleb.
He might
Wiley.
cement himself as the backup to A-Rob if he does that.
If he can look like he belongs, yeah.
Yeah, my question is, Willie. I'm skeptical. Let me put it that way.
Mm-hmm. And then anyone else in France?
Sabi.
No. While Brett looks that up, maybe you want to start with the Dutch.
Yeah. Well, we have Spain. Let's finish Spain, and then we'll go to the Dutch.
Underdog Fantasy Sports is back with a new and improved pick'em game across all sports that makes it easy to play fantasy sports with just a few clicks. Each sport allows you to build a parlay that includes between 2 and 5 predictions about the outcomes of player projections. As you would expect, the more picks you include, the greater the potential payout. Don't go crazy with it and play responsibly, but adding a few bucks here and there to a game gives it a little more excitement and stakes. Use my promo code 11YANKS or click the link in the description to start playing, and Underdog will match whatever you put in your account up to $100. Enjoy!
Spain is just De La Torre and Johnny. Let's start with Johnny. We don't know if he's even going to be in Spain. So, Tack, let's let you start this one.
AC Milan, yeah, Tack, that's all you.
Yeah, well, I mean, he had a bunch of inquiries in like March or April already from teams from the Prem. Italy, Milan was one of them, and Milan came back now during the summer again. Betis wants like 25 to 30 million, and they need to sell a player. It doesn't mean Johnny will be the player. They don't want to sell Johnny specifically. But again, if they pay and Johnny can reach a financial agreement with that club, which honestly, if it's Milan, Juventus has also been one of the teams that inquired in the past. If they reach an agreement with the club and financially it works for Johnny and he thinks that he can play, which I think if the club pays that much, he'll probably play, he'll leave. And there's still, like 20-something days left. I'll say it right now, Johnny, it's 50-50. He could leave Real Betis. He doesn't want to. He wants to stay with Betis for at least a season, but he could leave this month.
If he went to Milan, would he be competing with
Musa? Not really. I think Musa, the coach Fonseca's mentioned Musa more of like a box-to-box, like driving the ball forward. Johnny would be more like with Adli, I think, a bit deeper.
If they're not competing with Middits, that's like my dream for him to go to AC Milan.
But in a sense, even though they're not in the same position, they will be kind of competing for minutes because midfields can shuffle around too.
Yeah, that's my concern.
Yeah, I don't think he'll go to Milan, though. That's what I'll say. I don't think he'll go to Milan.
If he does, there's a fairly decent chance we'll see some games with Pulisic, Musa, and Johnny in the same midfield, an all-American midfield.
Come on,
yeah.
That would be wild.
Just to also so you all know, Italy will always be a more likely destination because he has an Italian passport. So Italian clubs love that because it counts as a homegrown. That plays a big role. That's why you see Milan and Juventus, they'll be interested in asking.
Jack, you never sent me his contact. You said you did.
I did. I sent you. I'll send again, but I sent you a picture.
I tried to.
He tried to meet up with Johnny Mykonos, but Johnny was
the same time I was, and I guess like with his girlfriend or some shit. I couldn't meet up with him, but
yeah, he was with her. They had plans for the night because he was going to preseason early. He was leaving vacation.
I think I found out he was there the last day he was there or something. So
yeah, it was the last day, and the next morning he was going to meet up with Real Betis to come to the U.S. for preseason. He ended his vacation early,
so wherever Johnny ends up, I think we want to see just the same as the last 6 months that we've seen from him, right? Yeah. Being a regular starter and continuing to demonstrate that he's a key contributor in that midfield.
Yeah, and I think for him, I know it's not his thing to get goals and assists, but get a few like he did, right? Here and there, contribute. Yeah. He was able to score a nice goal get a goal. He's good in the air, maybe score a header. You don't want him to end also a season with 35 games, 0 goals, 0 assists, even though he's a 6.
Sure.
But just continue to play the way he does, what he did for Real Betis.
Are you surprised at how successful his last season was?
I was surprised of how fast it was because I didn't think the old school coach that he had would play him right away. But then Guido Rodriguez getting injured and him just coming in and playing well, not really.
Really well.
Well, the thing is, the gap between the Brazilian League and La Liga is not as big as people think outside of the top 3. If you remove Barcelona, Atleti, and Real Madrid, the other ones like Palmeiras would probably be fighting for Palmeiras and Flamengo would probably be like with Real Betis, like around 5th and 6th, and those are the teams he was playing. So it shouldn't be a surprise. He was doing very well in Brazil, and
Was he doing that well in Brazil?
yeah, he was one of their best players when they made it a run to the semifinals of the Libertadores. He was playing well. Yeah.
Well, for more casual Johnny fans, I was surprised. I think we were all surprised.
Most were.
Surprised, so it's exciting.
Because Americans also are very much used to an MLS player going to Europe, and the transition is really tough. It's
that's true.
The pressure, the speed of play, everything. So usually an MLS player will take a full season or two. Brazilian players, unless they're like 18, right? Like Vinicius when he got there, and Endrick, they take maybe a bit longer, but usually they'll adapt fairly quickly, or they'll just flop. Well,
that's our sixth position. Remember when it was Kellen and backup, and now
Jackson Yule.
Maybe his third. Yeah. And now those guys are like 6 and 7. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy.
Those guys they're not there. You'll move Musa there if you have to.
Musa and who am I forgetting? Maloney,
Testman.
Sixes are Johnny, Adams, and Maloney for sure. And then you can put Musa there too. So that's 4 guys that can play the 6.
That are like starting. It's crazy because I remember 2 years ago we were like, we got to get it back up to Adams. If he goes down, we're fucked.
Yeah.
And now it's like it's just crazy in 2 years what's happened to the team, especially
Luca De La Torre. Not a guy that I think is going to be in that 2026 roster personally. But I'm just curious to see where you guys have him. I mean, he got 9 goal contributions in La Liga last season, sort of playing as a winger for Celta Vigo. That was largely under Rafa Benitez. Once Rafa Benitez left, he kind of got benched. And they've signed 3 or 4 players now, Celta Vigo. So I'm very curious what's going to happen with De La Torre. He's 26 now. Also
Didn't
entering his
put him
prime.
in the transfer block?
Did they put him in the transfer? I didn't think so.
I saw a report that Daniel Smith on Twitter follows De La Torre a lot, and I remember him sharing something that Luca was on the transfer list. I might be wrong here.
In players, but I didn't see anything about him being on a transfer list. Do you?
Okay.
I mean, maybe he needs to leave. I just want him to be somewhere where they like him and trust him and start him, because he showed his big issue was goal contributions before last season. And Rafa Benitez said, "I look at this guy De La Torre, and I said to him, you have goals in you, you have assists in you, push yourself." And he did, and he got 9 of them, which is no small feat. Even though I don't think De La Torre is gonna. With our burgeoning midfield, I mean, unless we have real issues, I think he's on the outside looking in. I think he's that last guy that, like, if all else fails, you bring him in as the 9th guy, because he can play the 10. He's more of an 8, let's be honest, but he can also play the wing. He can kind of play the 10. He's just not effective at a high level, in my opinion. Like at a World
Cup, would you consider it a success if Luca, at least? Well, we talked about Brooks, and that was a no. But what if Luca played for a top Eredivisie team?
Sure.
I think that would be good as a midfielder.
It's going to be hard for somebody to stay relevant in the conversation in our midfield, as impacted as it is, if you're not in the top 5 league performing.
But I don't know if he's going to stay relevant at a period.
Well, but I think that would be my barometer of success for Luca, is to stay relevant. And in order to stay relevant, he has to be in a top 5 league, probably starting.
Yeah, that's true. Because he's going to have to push. And, I mean, look, maybe McKennie gets super fat and doesn't play at all. So now there's an extra spot at the 8. I don't know.
So for Luca, let's just agree that success would be starting in a top 5 league and doing fine, like holding his own.
Mid-table, at least mid-table's top 5 league.
Yeah.
Starting. Yeah. And performing, like 10 goal contributions. If he's a 10 or a winger or whatever, or an 8.
Okay, let's move to the Eredivisie here. This is going to be a 2-hour video. Let's start with Serginho Dest. They signed him despite his ACL injury, PSV Eindhoven. So hopefully he'll be back by the end of the year, or if not, early next year. And we just want to see the Dest from PSV last year. I think if he replicates that form after an ACL, that's great.
Shouldn't he be back towards the end of this year?
He's supposed to be back around January.
His recovery is good. He's another one of the guys that I stay in touch with, try to pretty regularly. As far as I know, his recovery is doing pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to know when he's going to be back on the field. You have to, because when I did my ACL, the surgeon told me for the ACL itself to heal is 6 months. Forget playing, like just for it to completely heal. And you can't do anything.
So when did he do it? Like 3 months ago or something?
It was March, right?
It was more like April. He was with us in March,
think it
right?
might have
He
been
played,
April,
he played with the U.S. in
At
March.
least April. Maybe it was even later.
No, he didn't, because Scally started in the Nations League, remember?
Well, because Dest was suspended for the first
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
Dest
he-
started
Oh,
the
that's
final.
right. Yeah,
Let's say April. So May, June, July, August, September, October.
It was like it was late in the season. It was like when they had won the Eredivisie
He
already.
could come back like in January or something. No,
It's
Yeah.
January.
He
It's
could have
January.
he
I
could
think
have,
January should be the latest.
so he could have half a season.
Oh, I would put it this way. For this season, since he's going to miss preseason, ACL, I would say as long as he comes back and is playing somewhat similar at some point of the season, even if it's towards the end of what he was, he gets back to that form any time of the season, it's a success for me.
Yeah, I put it slightly higher than that. Let's say he should have half a season at the same caliber of season that he had last year, which is hard to improve upon. So let's just say match.
Yeah, match. Because also keep in mind, like the first month or so when he's back, it's going to be slow. It takes some time, right?
Malik Tillman, for me, an amazing season last season, right? His best ever season, 23 goal contributions. And yet it did not affect his form for the national team at all. He was terrible whenever he stepped on the field for the U.S. You, Brett, have talked about should you even be considered for midfield if you're playing in the Eredivisie. Do you feel the same way for Malik?
Well, I think the 10 is a spot that we're not as deep in unless if Pooley starts playing the 10. So let's assume that Pooley's not playing the 10 on the U.S. men's national team. Because if he is, you got Pooley and Gio, and I don't know when I don't know when Malik sees the field. So it doesn't matter where he's playing.
Yeah.
So when we're in a top, when our A team is called in. So let's say Pooley's left, and then I would say Malik's the backup. So Malik is one of the positions where it doesn't really matter where he's playing, because I don't see who's competing with him for the backup to Gio.
I mean, probably Paxton. That's the truth.
I think Paxton's just too young, although I
agree. Also, probably not as good.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? One day. Now I agree, but I mean,
right now, but leading up to 2026.
But also, Tillman and Paxton are not that far apart in age. It's like 2 years.
Well, but 2 years is a lot when you're 19 or 20.
We'll talk about Paxton in just a second, but I think he needs to have a breakout season for Utrecht.
For Malik, I would say success would be matching a full season like he did last year, or there's no rumors that he's getting traded or anything, right?
No, he's staying.
No.
He's staying.
Okay, then.
Can I, Brett? I'll help you with this one. You know what should be good for Tillman? You know what we said about Pulisic, matching roughly the goal assist, but performing better against better teams? Same thing for Tillman. Same goal contribution would be okay, but do a lot more against Ajax, Feyenoord, Champions League. I think that would be a good season for him. Really stand out. That would be
in the Champions League,
that would be a good season for Tillman.
Because getting 20 goal contributions against the bottom of the Eredivisie.
Go ahead, Eagles.
Yeah.
That name is dope, but still. It is. I think it's top 5 greatest.
We need to take you to Bolivia, then go watch The Strongest and Always Ready.
Always Ready is my favorite.
Wow. All right. Where's that? Bolivia?
Bolivia.
But is that what it means in like Spanish?
No, they just call it in English. They call it The Strongest, and they call it Always Ready. They say it in English.
That is nuts, dude. All right. That's why I said top 5. I left room for others.
Okay, let's do Ricardo Pepi. This is tough, man, because Luke de Jong is the problem.
Yes.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts on this one for Pepi. So last season, I have the numbers here. He played in the Eredivisie 450 minutes, which is horrible. Very low. Luke de Jong will probably play a lot. He's the captain, unless he's injured. Let's assume Luke de Jong is healthy. Regardless, I think Pepi needs to a bare minimum double the amount of minutes. Bare minimum. So 1,000 minutes roughly in the Eredivisie. And the goal contributions is tricky, mainly because of what Brett just said. Like he can get 10 goals, and maybe like 10 of them are always like go ahead Eagles, Excelsior. I want to see him like actually play a role for PSV, which I know he got that key goal in the Champions League, but overall in the season he wasn't a legitimate contributor, right? He was scoring
because he didn't play.
It's no fault.
Yeah, so essentially in 1,000 minutes he should be playing a bigger role, but contribute in those 1,000 minutes in the Eredivisie. If Luke de Jong is injured, then way more than that. But with a healthy Luke de Jong, at least 1,000 minutes.
But is some of that up to him, or how much? You know what I mean? Because the coach Even they'd be winning a game 7-0 and he would get the last 10 minutes.
It's not up to him. But if he doesn't get those minutes, I can't consider the season a success. Sure. I know it's not only up to him.
I agree, but you can't blame him because
I'm not blaming him.
Everything
but
he possibly can. I don't understand the manager starting at 33 or whatever it is year old when it's 5-0. It's insane to me. Luke de Jong must just be like this with the manager, or he's threatening them with something, or I don't know. None of it makes
Dutch. He's Dutch.
But it's weird. Even after they'd won the title, he still wouldn't start Pepi.
It makes no fucking sense to me. And then Pepi and his agent started, getting a little antsy towards the end, which honestly you can't blame him. It doesn't even make sense. Why wouldn't you start your young guy that you paid $10 million for when you're up 4-0 and you've already clinched it? Is there any reason? I was really confused.
Well, I think they were trying to get Luke de Jong to be the top goal scorer. I know it's stupid, but I think that was the reason.
Well, PSV is a development club. They're known as that. They sell players on. So if you're prioritizing getting more goals for your 34-year-old than the development of your 21-year-old.
And sacrificing his longevity, it doesn't even make sense from Luke's perspective.
No, I'll say this. If by January the situation is the same where he's getting 10 minutes off the bench here and there, he should demand a loan. Go to Ernie Stewart and say, hey, this is not what I came to PSV to be. So if you don't want me here, fine, but loan me out for the rest of the season. He
sat quietly, mostly quietly for an entire season. You can't do that for 2 years when you're at that caliber of a player at that age.
And also, I don't think he even started the cup games. He has to start all the cup games, get over 1,000 minutes in the Eredivisie. And in the Champions League, I think roughly what it was last year, getting 20 minutes here and there, depending, maybe a start if they're qualified.
His agent's got to be talking. They have to be figuring this out right now. Yeah. I don't think you can even wait to see what happens. Just go to the manager and be like, what is your plan? Because
what's the plan for the season?
Like, bro, let's get me out of here. I mean, be respectful, especially when the sporting director is American.
Yeah, like maybe you get 30 minutes off the bench if the team is winning 3-0 by the 60th minute. Maybe don't keep Luke de Jong on until at minute 82 and then give him 8 minutes. You know what I mean?
It's absolute nonsense.
So
you can't blame Pepi because that guy had like the goals per minutes record, like the entire top 5 leagues and leagues in Europe. So it's nothing. And he just had a hat trick. The guy's made of goals. I'd love to see what he's made of on a better team in a better league. I would actually love to see him in like mid-table top 5 leagues, not Liga, so top 4 leagues. Is Liga even the 5th best league at this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's way better than the only competition is the Eredivisie, and you see those teams in the Eredivisie.
What about Portugal or?
Portugal is very top heavy, but then when you go after the top like 6,
Liga is top heavy, bro.
No, Liga is, but
even the lower teams in Portugal, in France, would thrash the lower teams in the Netherlands or Portugal, I believe.
Yeah, I'd say like Benfica.
Okay, I'll agree with you. It's 5th, but here's another question: can we start calling it the top 4 leagues in Europe instead of the top 5?
Sure.
I think the top 4 are clear. Yeah, they're clear.
Yeah, they're clear. So, I mean, why are we using 5 as a barometer? Like, why does everyone
I think traditionally it was top 5 for many years. That's
and I also think like France in terms of just the talent they produce. Also because they also put it because technically France has a Champions League contender, like PSG always is, right? They're there, even though they'd never win it. I think mainly that. Monaco a couple years ago, semifinal run. When you look at Portugal, when was the last time we've seen a Portuguese team in the semifinals?
I'm not saying Portugal's bad. I think you're right. I concede that. But I still think we should say top 4.
Yeah, top 4, they're clear. And then like France is like 5th, but with a gap with those 4.
5th, but there's a gap.
Yeah. And I think there's still a big gap between France and Portugal and the Eredivisie.
Fair. But I'd love to see Pepi in a top 4 league.
Yeah, I think eventually. We'll see
we're dominating, I suppose, at PSV. But even so, like, shouldn't all of our players be in top 4 leagues? In my opinion, I mean, look.
Ideally, but
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Let's quickly do Taylor Booth and Paxson, because then after that, I mean, we have some championship guys, but Taylor Booth has been injured a lot. He gets these false starts and he starts looking good for Utrecht, and then he gets injured again. And then he takes a long time, not only to come back, but to start performing again. This is like Gio Reyna. Taylor Booth has to stay healthy and deliver this season for Utrecht because he's not young anymore. He's 23. It's like deliver time.
He showed a lot of promise 2 years ago and then took a step back. It's probably mostly with injuries last year. I think he's one of the guys that could be in the World Cup conversation if he progresses. Like, I think he's shown moments that where you're like, shit, that he could have that quality.
Yeah.
I would say a successful season for him is, one, he's in the Eredivisie, which we talked about, the defending and the terrible teams they have lower table. He has to start for Utrecht, and I think like 15 goal contributions is not a lot in the Eredivisie.
Yeah.
No. And Utrecht are not a terrible team either.
I think if you're going to be in the conversation for the United States men's national team at this point, and you're in the Eredivisie, you have to be dominating. You have to be the best player on your team or second best player on your team. You have to be like top 20 players in the league.
Yeah.
Easily, maybe top 15 players in the league.
I will go as far as to say that the championship is a better league than the Eredivisie if you take out the top 3 teams. If you take out PSV, Ajax, and Feyenoord, a lot of those Dutch teams would get destroyed by championship teams. I really believe that.
Look at there's ratings on all this. I forget what it's called, but there's like a pretty
there's like UEFA rankings, but it's mostly based on how the top teams.
Like a 10-year coefficient. Is that the UEFA rankings?
Yeah, the UEFA coefficient, but that is based on how the top teams perform in the European competition. So it doesn't really take the bottom 12 to 15 teams into account. So it's not a great way to judge leagues, in my opinion.
I would agree. What about salaries? That's probably a decent way.
Salary is a better way to show it, for sure. For sure.
I think you'd be right on salaries.
Yeah. But I haven't actually looked it up. That's just me speaking off of the eye test. I could be wrong. But I look at the championship. Sargent, and Haji and these guys playing the championship. To me, there's much tougher games there than
doing the championship, because I think we should include them.
We can do the top 4 guys that are relevant.
We're going to include Sargent, but let's do what was the second guy? Taylor Booth and Paxton.
It's Paxton. I think Paxton needs to have a breakout season too, because he got loaned out last year to the Eredivisie from Frankfurt, and now he's there. He has a full season with Utrecht. I think minimum 10 goal contributions and a starter at the 10.
I agree. How old is he? 20?
22 now, I think.
No, Paxton, no. He's like 21.
21.
Yeah, I'll say that. Starter and over 10 goal contributions, but looking good.
Yeah.
Looking good, yeah.
I agree with all that.
Joshua Sargent. There actually is rumors that some Premier League teams are interested in him now before the end of the month. We'll see.
Let's assume he stays in Norwich.
I pitched him to the Nottingham Forest sporting director hard. I was like, bro, how can you not be looking at this guy? He's fucking dying.
He has to stay. His ankles are a problem. I think if you're a sporting director, you're worried about his ankles because he keeps injuring his ankles.
It's like Steph Curry early in his career.
I wouldn't be surprised. He seems to be the quality of a lower table prem. But let's say he stays in the championship. Just continue to dominate.
Yeah, 20 plus. And stay healthy.
20 plus goals.
And 20 plus goal contributions.
I would say 20 plus goals. They have more
games. If he's healthy, that's very realistic. Yeah.
They have more games. 42 games?
They have 48.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's say 20 goals.
No, sorry, 46.
Yeah, 46. 24 teams, 23 games. Yeah. So if he's healthy, that's very doable. He got 15 goals in like half the season.
If he wants
over 20 goals and healthy,
like getting minutes to the U.S. men's national team, he's probably going to have to go to a top 4 league. So in order to do that, he probably has to get at least 20 for the second year in a row.
Goals, not even contribute goals, like assists. That's like over 20 goals scored. Wasn't it Mitrovic from Fulham that he scored like a goal per? He had like 40 goals in the. Yeah. So
and then he went to the Saudi league. What a waste of talent.
Money, but preferably Sargent. If he could hit that, if he stays healthy, he should aim. Obviously, he's going to try to do his best, but like 30 goals if he stays healthy the whole season.
Wouldn't that be like Golden Boot?
Yeah.
In the championship, possibly. We've seen like Ivan Toney and players like Mitrovic. Mitrovic surpassed 40. Ivan Toney was in the high 30s, I think. So really good center forwards. Yeah, really good center forwards get to that almost 40 mark in that league.
Well, let's say 25.
Yeah. 25 would be really good.
Especially if he wants to compete for a striker spot on the national team. He's probably fighting Pepi for that backup spot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then Haji Wright is a newfound life as a winger, which I'm loving for him personally.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. What a freaking come up that guy had.
I think he needs to have another baller season because he's not young like some of the other guys. He's 27 now, I believe.
Also a big dude when you stand next to him.
I'm sure.
I would put him and Chris as the two guys you wouldn't want to fight.
Yeah. I think Haji could play in the Bundesliga for sure, but he needs to show he has to show that last season wasn't a one-off, because up until then, Haji hasn't really had a good season at a good level. I know he had Turkey or whatever. So it's like, was it last season? Was it a one-off, right? Or is that the level of Haji Wright? And he needs to show that this season. And if he does, I think there's a move waiting for him somewhere.
So he needs like 20 goal contributions probably.
Yeah, 20 goal contributions minimum.
Yeah. I think he's a really fun guy to keep an eye on too, because you didn't expect. I love it when people you don't expect become major contributors and an actual factor on the A team, and he's got that caliber, it seems.
He had 16 goals and 7 assists last season, so 20 goal contributions is the bare minimum.
Bare minimum, yeah. For success. Brendan Aronson. Brendan Aronson is going to go back to Leeds and help them try to gain promotion. I would say be a starter at Leeds and a key contributor in a promotion battle. That's success. A starter and a key contributor.
Agreed. Another fun guy to watch. That's a good story, you know. They don't. I heard they didn't like him. Not.
I mean, he was terrible for that. That's why.
Or whatever. Yeah. So I think it'd be so cool if he goes back. They get promoted. He's a huge contributor, one of the fan favorites. Gets into the Prem. I don't know. Just that whole story would be like a little redemption for him. Yeah. And I think it'd be awesome. I'm going to be following that.
And he's probably not a Prem level player, but he can help them get promoted and then see what happens next.
Well, we can find out if he is, you know?
Yeah. And then the last one is Austin Trusty. For me, Austin Trusty needs to be a Defender of the Year contender in the championship, because he was Fans Defender of the Year at Birmingham, and now he has a year of Premier League experience, and Sheffield United will be one of the better teams in the championship. And if Trusty wants to be considered for a position in the national team that is low on quality options, he needs to be one of the best defenders in the championship.
I agree, because Carter Vickers was one of the best defenders in the championship for Bournemouth, and then he went to Scotland, and we saw that he can't really break through the national team, right? He was even very poor during the summer. So Trusty has to be among the best, and even if he is among the best, that might not be enough, but that's the step forward to for this season.
Yeah.
Either Mark or CCV or Trusty, one of those three guys, from a fan's perspective, I want to become to step up and become a huge part of the United States men's national team, because we need center back depth. One of those three guys has to take a step forward.
I'm putting my money on Trusty because Mark is 6 foot and he's never been that good with his feet. Although there is Bundesliga interest, we'll see.
Yeah.
Trusty's also a left-footed center back. It's kind of perfect spot for him to go play next to Richards if he can. Can he do it at a high level? That's the question. Probably not, actually. Noah Kai Banks is going to be with Augsburg's first team this season. He's a center back at Augsburg. He's 18 years old. He was with the second team last season. They're not interested in putting him with the second team this year. They want him with the first team. So he could be a Bundesliga bench.
Where did he come from? I haven't even heard the name. What's the name?
Noah Kai Banks. He's an American. He's a dual national, but he was born and raised in the U.S. So
what's the dual nationality?
Germany.
Well, that's not good.
No, it's not good. But Germany has good he doesn't, to be on the German national team, you need to be a top 5 center back in the Bundesliga. Yeah. If you're a top 20 center back in the Bundesliga, you could probably play for us.
I mean, none of our center backs would make their roster.
Where did he come from? From what academy? I know the names of the
Augsburg's academy. He came through their development system, and they really rate him very, very highly. I have not seen him play, so I cannot, advocate for him, but they really rate him.
That's exciting. I don't know if he'd be ready for 2026 as a center back.
Probably not.
But I mean, Trusty,
the Galaxy,
Jalen Neal.
Yeah, he seems pretty damn good, and
he's very good on the ball, especially, and that's something we're lacking.
He's a leader. Jonathan told me that, because
he had sports hernia that screwed him over for 6 months.
Injured, man. He's always fucking injured.
Yeah, but just Trusty, he needs a bounce back season, because I know it's the Premier League, and I know it's not entirely his fault, but he was part of the defense that literally broke the record for most goals conceded in a season. So he needs a bounce back. I know it's not all on him, but he was part of it.
Good season. He was played in the Premier League and didn't embarrass himself. That is not a season that you need a bounce back from. To me, that's impressive.
The fact that we didn't even look at him. We didn't even look at him.
I don't understand
in the Premier League. Honestly, I don't understand that. Yeah. And he's left-footed too. It's come on.
He can play left back, by the way.
Yeah, a defensive left back.
But I mean, look, it's better than a lot of the options we've tried in the past. Like,
I mean, if we get Matarazzo, we're likely going to play a back three. So now you play him as the left center back in a back three.
Yeah.
Honestly, if it's a back three with Matarazzo, your best bet is Richards, Trusty, Scally. I don't know. Like,
So who is not in the team then? Because then you have Dest and Robinson.
well, they would be the wing backs.
Yeah.
Either Dest and Robinson or Dest and Weah.
And then you have the three. So then who are you? You got to pull somebody.
It would come from midfield. So you'd have a two-man midfield now. So probably like a McKennie Adams midfield or Johnny McKennie or Johnny
So Musa would be
Musa.
or Gio. You'd have to have Gio there, I think.
So again, it depends how you go. If you could play 3-5-2, Gio could play the 10, or Pulisic could play the 10. You have Balogun and either Gio or Pulisic up top.
I don't know if
likely.
I don't know if I like the 3-5-2 because Dest and Robinson are great left and right back.
They're actually Dest is not a good defensive right back. He's more of a wing back.
I know, but he's still neither's Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's still. I don't think, as much as I like Trusty, and I just stood up for him, I don't think I'd rather him in our starting 11 than a Gio or a whoever you'd have to pull.
I'm just telling you that if Matarazzo's in charge, he's almost exclusively played a back three wherever he's gone.
He plays a 3-5-2, 3-4-1,
3-4-2-1,
3-4-3. He always plays a back three. Just like Nagelsmann loves a back three too.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe he would change it for the U.S. I don't know. He has occasionally played 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1, but it's rare, very rare with Matarazzo.
We'll have to see.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I just want to get that coach so we can see. All right, guys. So that is it. Let's see what happens with this season. Maybe we'll revisit this halfway through January or something. And then again, at the end of the season, because this was fun.
Yeah, it was. Thanks for having me on, guys. No
problem, Brett. Thanks for being here. Guys, go follow Tactical Manager TV if you haven't already. Do you want people to follow you on your socials, Brett, or do you not care?
Go watch Selling Sunset.
Yeah, go watch Selling Sunset. Season, what is it, 9?
8 is coming out pretty soon. I don't post soccer content rarely, so I don't think that
okay.
necessarily.
Well, tell your wags to go watch Selling Sunset. Exactly. My girlfriend loves your show.
Yeah, she's like, a lot of the women, every guy that comes up to me for pics or whatever is like, "Oh, my girlfriend loves your show. My girlfriend loves my girlfriend. My wife." Yeah. I'm like, so I'm used to hearing that. But hey, if you have to have a demographic that watches your show, I'll take that.
That's a great demographic.
Yeah, we are like 99.9% man, and then 0.1 it's people that put they just lie on YouTube when they're making their account. So yeah, this is a demographic that probably doesn't watch your show.
I was walking through downtown Mykonos with Juan Mata, the old Spanish midfielder.
Yeah,
and we every guy was like stopping him and taking pictures and shit, whatever. And every girl was like stopping me, and I'm like, bro, I way prefer my demographic.
Oh yeah, of course.
It was kind of funny to see like the difference.
Yeah. Well, guys, again, thanks for hanging. And hopefully we have a really good season. I think we're setting up to have a really good season. I maybe it's blind optimism, but I think it's going to be even better than last season, which was record-breaking for guys in Europe.
Yeah, last season was nuts. We could have never dreamt of something like that 5 years ago. So if we beat that this season, that would be crazy.